This is an abuse of power that the president is again trying to manipulate federal law enforcement to serve his political interest. And the president is what he is. He thinks he's above the law. This all must be investigated.
Something egregious like this demands that the Inspector General investigate.
Abuse of power, investigating political opponents. No, Democrats are not talking about the impeachment trial. Those latest comments are in reference to the Roger Stone sentencing, with a growing number of Democrats now insisting the president tried to improperly influence it. Now reports are emerging that some of those Democrats are going so far as to consider yet another investigation, maybe even another impeachment. Joining me now, House Minority Whip, Congressman Steve Scalise. Congressman, appreciate you coming in tonight.
Great to be with you, Ed. Thanks.
During the impeachment trial, you and other Republican leaders said, you know what, no matter what happens here, even if there's an acquittal, it's going to go on and on beyond the impeachment trial, but maybe even beyond the next election.
Yeah, you know, Ed, they are the party of impeachment. The Democrats have been talking about this since the day that the president and Melania Trump came down that escalator. They said they would impeach him. They didn't think he would get elected president. They tried to stop him. If you look, the FBI had people embedded within the FBI, trying to stop him from getting elected. That's where the investigation, by the way, ought to be, if Pelosi really cared about uncovering anything. The fact that you had an agency, and it was only people, a small group of people there that were abusing their power. But why aren't they looking into that? That concerns me and a lot of people. We don't want that to happen again to any president, whether it's 2020 election or ever again. But then you look at real abuse of power. In fact, it was one of the Democrats' star witnesses, Professor Turley, who said the real abuse of power is Democrats impeaching a president with no crime. There was no crime. They looked for a crime. They hoped for a crime because they disliked this president. And you can see that with Speaker Pelosi. She's made it very personal. It's a vendetta. That's the abuse of power, what Speaker Pelosi is doing, wasting Congress's time, not working with Republicans and the president to lower drug prices or to get an infrastructure package, but instead to go after the president every single day because she doesn't agree with the 2016 election results.
And now Speaker Pelosi may be going further. Remember when she said he'll be impeached forever? Now she's suggesting he was never acquitted. Watch.
There was no acquittal. You can't have an acquittal unless you have a trial. And you can have a trial when you have witnesses and documents. So he can say he's acquitted, and the headlines can say acquitted. But he's impeached forever, branded with that, and not vindicated.
Now, Democrats spent all this time earlier in the administration saying this president's about alternative facts, he's not telling the truth. And now you have the Speaker of the House claiming to the American people there was no trial, there was no acquittal.
It's really sad when you watch it. You know, it's like, again, the personal vendetta comes out, that we should be putting our personal differences on the side. You fight passionately for the things you believe in, but you shouldn't make things personal. And clearly she's crossed that line. But again, the president was acquitted for life. Go look at the vote. It really did happen. But ultimately, it was her case. You know, it was the House case, the witnesses they brought. They didn't let us bring our own witnesses, by the way, Ed. We had a list of witnesses. We were guaranteed under House rules an entire day of hearings for the minority, and Speaker Pelosi shredded that rule like she ripped the State of the Union address. That's how little respect she had for witnesses being brought in the House. And then they turns out they didn't make their case. The public didn't buy it because they saw through that this was a personal vendetta. There was no crime. And instead of just recognizing and moving on, they talk about impeachment again because it's all they've got. Look, there's an election coming up in a few months. The people of this country will decide. I know they're disappointed in their field. You can see it. They know that no matter who comes out of that socialist Democrat primary, nobody's excited about the field. I was in Iowa. I was in New Hampshire. The Trump voters are passionately excited, and frankly, in larger numbers than we've ever seen. And the Democrat side is depressed. But you don't just keep harassing the president because you're disappointed in your own presidential field.
But, Congressman, I hear you also saying on the impeachment question, it's time to turn the page, it's time to come together. But one of those votes for acquittal was from Republican Susan Collins, who you know said that she believed the president had learned a lesson from the impeachment drama. And what we started this segment was talking about the new Democratic investigations on Roger Stone and whether the president intervened. On the question of learning anything, do you really think the president learned anything from that drama?
Well, I think the president learned just how corrupt some people in the deep state are. I mean, you look at some of these people literally within federal agencies like the FBI abusing their power to try to stop him from getting elected. That ought to frighten every American, Republican or Democrat. That's what we should be concerned about.
What about his own behavior, though? I get what you're saying about the deep state, and that's been out there, and that's going to continue to be questioned. But what about his own actions? Did he learn anything?
Look, the president made it very clear when you look at the Zelensky phone call, and ultimately that's what this was about. It was a call between two people, President Trump and President Zelensky. Both people have been asked about this call multiple times and said it was a great call. The president talked about it as a perfect call. Zelensky appreciated President Trump's help in things like selling the Javelin missiles to defend themselves against Russia, which, by the way, President Obama and Joe Biden wouldn't do. They wouldn't help the Ukraine stand up to Russia. So Zelensky was very fine with the call. In fact, thanked President Trump for the help that he's given Ukraine. I wish President Obama had done that much. But again, the two people on the call both said it was a fine call, and yet their answer was to impeach the president because they're afraid he's going to win again in 2020.
Congressman Steve Scalise, we certainly appreciate coming in tonight. Thank you.
Great being with you, Ed. Thanks.